Welcome back to the Success Catalyst. Today, I'm excited to introduce Alice Readman. Born in London, Alice's journey has been one of continuous exploration and reinvention. In 2014, Alice embarked on a transformative journey of self-discovery, chronicled in her book, I Am Alice: Breakup, Breakdown, Breakthrough, a true adventure story. This pivotal period led her to Bali in 2017, where she has since immersed herself in music and sound healing. Alice now focuses on playing harmonium, singing mantra, and exploring the healing power of voice and frequencies. Currently, Alice is channeling her experiences into creating a collection of journals designed to support others through times of change and planning retreats in Bali for 2024. I'm thrilled to dive into Alice's fascinating story, her creative endeavors, and her insights on transformation and healing. Welcome to the show, Alice.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to meet you again.
It's great to have you. So your life took a significant turn in 2014. So can you tell us more about the challenges that you faced and how they led your journey of self-discovery and the writing of your book, I Am Alice?
Yes, back in 2014, I was leading a very different life than I am now. I was married and I was just about to adopt two children with my husband at the time. And the day before going to meet the children and integrate them into our lives, he woke me up and told me that he didn't want the children and he didn't want me. So consequently, it was a life-changing moment. And yeah, my life changed drastically after that. I mean, trying to integrate the shock, both physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It was really, yeah, it took me on a path that I never thought I would go down. It's the unexpected arrived. Yeah, I had this sort of spiritual awakening. I was going through a lot of pain and really thought I was going to die, at nighttime because I was in so much, my body was shaking and I was in shock.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and I really thought that I was losing my heart was, going to big panic and shaking like a teacup, I could almost like hear, my whole body was in shock. As it happens when you go to shock, your body goes into shaking and all of that kind of thing. And yeah, so unfortunately, I had been singing a mantra for those couple of years before the children came. And so basically, I turned that sound on my phone and I sang along to the mantra, holding on to life, because I was like, well, I want to live. I don't want to die. So I just sang the mantra. I just kept on singing the mantra. And yeah, my sister was staying at my house, fortunately, and she would pop in and if I stopped singing, she was like, oh, what's wrong? Come in and see me. And I was just exhausted. I mean, I was just physically, mentally exhausted. And yeah, she supported me through that. And yeah, I started getting messages. I was told that there was a gift in my experience, so that was very reassuring. And through those next couple of weeks, I just couldn't sleep at night. I think my body was in so much shock, it just couldn't calm my nervous system down. So I did a lot of channeling information and, all good stuff. But yeah, it was frightening for myself, and it was also frightening for my family and friends. And yeah, they didn't really know what to do with me. And obviously, it's not normal to in the Western world to have this kind of experience. They put it down to mental health, and they want to put you into, a psychiatric ward and drug you and stop everything. But actually, spiritual awakening is something that's been happening for centuries, and it can happen to anyone. Not just me. I mean, it can happen to anyone, and it doesn't mean you're crazy. It just means that there's an opening coming through that's connecting you with the world beyond our physical body. And yeah, so I had that experience, and then consequently, because I was living in two realities, had one step in this sort of 3D world, doing normal things, and then I had this other reality that was, I could feel so much, I could see so much, I saw the world in a kind of brighter, more beautiful way. I mean, a lot of it was actually, I felt bliss. I felt this amazing, sort of out of body experience. But yeah, that all had to come to an end. And I got put into a psychiatric ward and drugged, and I spent a couple of weeks in there. Well, I only took the drugs for about a week and I stopped taking them because I knew I shouldn't be there. And it was a very frightening place. So I had another sort of set of challenges to get myself out of there, and to try and regain my freedom, because I knew these drugs weren't helping me, because I'm quite sensitive to drugs, and I was having the same panic attacks and feeling like I was going to die through the drugs they were giving me, these sort of antipsychotic drugs. And I was just sort of walking around in a zombie like everyone else. And I just thought, no, I'm not going to do it. So I secretly stopped taking it. And as soon as I started to do that, within a few days, I mean, they started noticing that obviously, I mean, I wasn't like everyone else anyway, because I wasn't trying to kill myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just had to sort of do a lot of acting, just sort of like, right, I'm getting out of here, just keep myself quiet and just do everything I'm told, eat this, do this, open the door, I just sort of followed all their program. So if I didn't do anything wrong, then maybe I could, be very good and they'll let me out, which they did. They dropped a section as suddenly as it had been put on me, and I was allowed to go. But it was suggested for me to stay an extra week, because I was so programmed by having 2 weeks of being in there, in my small little room, and all the things they do there, that I was scared of the outside world, because I'd been sort of, I had this huge experience for a couple of weeks, had all that grief and loss, and then I got put into this place. So, sort of 5 weeks of, I was just scared, really. So I stayed an extra week and sort of integrated myself, allowing myself, I could go out when I want and come back. And and then I sort of, slowly I got out, which was like amazing. It was like the best day of my life, being told I had my freedom back.
You're free, yeah.
But still, there was sort of multiple problems along the way. And so it was a bit of a roller coaster ride. And but eventually I did get better. And I always had this dream that as soon as I was well enough and strong enough, that I would go traveling and see some beautiful things. And I would start, I would start from scratch and create a whole new life for myself. And so that's what I did.
Wow, thank you for sharing this with us, Alice. Such a challenging journey. I mean, it's one of the most like difficult things that one can go through. Grief in such situation, especially like feeling that vulnerable and being hurt at that time of life, and eventually being basically ripped off your freedom. That, I mean, I can't even imagine the amount of challenges and suffering that you've been through. So thank you so much for sharing this with us. I really admire your courage. So now you said that you decided to start traveling. So is that what inspired you to move to Bali?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of accidental, really. I didn't have a plan. I just went to Nepal because my sister was living there. I mean, because I didn't want to travel on my own. I didn't feel strong enough to be, because when you're traveling on your own, you've got to think about your safety, and it'd be too much. So I went to Nepal, and I'd been there a few times before, and it's such a beautiful place. I don't know if you've been there, but it's very beautiful.
Not yet.
And I went to Pokhara, and it's all in the mountains and beautiful sunrises and just such beautiful people, and such a lovely energy there. So I spent about a month or so there, and then another friend came over, a family friend, and then we ended up all going traveling around India for 3 months in southern India. So that was like another adventure. Every day you're seeing new things, new temples, new experiences, new food, all the craziness of India. And it's very enriching seeing new places and opening up your eyes to possibilities of where you could live, and what's going to happen. You don't know. I mean, we all live in the unknown. But we forget that because we have our day-to-day lives, we have our job, we have this. So it seems quite sort of regimented, and we sort of feel like we know what's going to happen next, but we don't. And I really believe this could happen to anyone, and that's why I wanted to share it. Obviously not exactly the same, but a lot of people go through mental health and spiritual awakenings, and it's a connection. There's a connection. There's mental health, having a dark night of the soul, having deep emotions, grief, many things can trigger it, an illness. Um, and, you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel. We can change, we can get well. But yeah, it's finding the right people and the circumstances to create that wellness.
That's amazing. So you've made Bali your home since 2017.
Yes.
And I want to know what aspects of life in Bali resonate with you the most and how have they influenced your personal and professional growth?
Yeah, I mean, in so many ways. I mean, I never knew I was going to live here. I was here for a couple of years, like, oh, it looks like I'm living here now. You know, how did I do that? I don't know. I mean, I never know, and I still don't know how long I'm going to be here.
Mhm,
But obviously, I've been here for 7 years now, and yeah, so much has happened to me here. It's a really beautiful country, and it's very gentle. I mean, I live in Ubud, and I spent a year living in Ahmed by the sea, and yeah, it's a very it's much more simpler way of living than living in the Western world. You
mhm,
know, lots of nature, lots of really special places that have really beautiful energy. Um, you know, temples and waterfalls, and there's a huge connection, a very strong connection with water here,
mhm,
and as a purification. And I believe, and I think there's been lots of research done about water, that water is
mhm.
energy and it
Yeah.
holds codes and it holds information.
Yes.
So water is quite sacred. So in Ubud, we're surrounded by, you know, rivers with temples. By there's lots of sacred energy. You can go into these temples and
Mhm,
you can go under the water spouts and go into the little waterfalls and you know do the offerings. And you know you might have been there, I don't know, an hour, but it feels like 5 hours. It's almost like you can kind of go into another space and time. It's like time doesn't exist, and it sort of connects you, you know, it replenishes you and it connects you to a deeper part of yourself, you know, that you're experiencing through the elements of nature, you know, because they're usually very low down, you know, in the ground, and there's beautiful nature and trees, and all the different temples have different energies, and they're all very beautiful, and but simple, not like in India where they're very grand. I mean, actually the temples themselves are quite simple, with just lots of yellow sort of color material around them. But there's something very unique and magical about when you enter them into that space. It's very different. And maybe when you first go, you don't notice, or maybe you do. It's different for everyone.
Yeah.
But you come out after being under the water and go, you feel so replenished, you feel so invigorated, you feel so alive. And so, yeah, I met a Balinese woman who's a very good friend of mine, and she would take me to all these different temples, and my friends would come too, and we'd go and explore them, all these different ones that she hadn't even been to either.
Mhm.
And so we'd feel the energy of the land, and you know, the experiences, and you know, you have to get dressed up in a kabaya and a sarong and all of that. And yeah, we would just experience this and go on these day trips together, and really learn about Bali life, and what it means to be a Hindu, and and just it's all about nature. It's about that connection to nature, and
Mhm.
how it is such a healthy connection to have. And it's a very deep connection. You know, these big, very, very old trees,
Yeah.
and yeah, so it was. So it's very magical, and I think I really believe that I live in heaven on earth.
Oh,
I really do. Yeah, I mean, obviously we have lots of building work. We have lots of change going on in the last 7 years. Huge amount of change, like everywhere in the world.
yeah.
But essentially, when you cut past that, it's very simple, and it's very beautiful, and it's, you know, it's a slower pace of life than being in around busy cities. Um, so it just has a completely different energy, because the
Yeah.
people have a different energy. And seeing everyone smiling, and, you know, always have these big smiles. I mean, that in itself, you know, if you smile, you're using your mama points, which actually stimulate in your body and make you happier. You know,
Yeah.
it's been proven. So, I mean, people smiling makes you want to smile. So it sort of raises your vibration, you know, through just taking life a little bit more slowly, and not having to know what's going to happen next, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I started exploring sound, and I went to lots of sound healings. And, you know, that had a, you know, obviously our body is 70% water. So it had this, you know, effect upon the body and healing. And yeah, I got really interested in that and wanted to learn myself. And so I did courses on the gong and Tibetan bowls and all sorts of things like that, which, you know, it just inspired me. And I think also it helped to heal me. You know, sound is a very healing you know, modality. And yeah, it kind of can free you up, it can touch your heart, it can help heal you, you know, along with lots of other things. Yeah, so I tried lots of different things, you know, breath work, ice baths, all sorts of things that I never thought I would do, but I always just felt like, oh well, I'll just give it a try. And then, you know, ended up training in that. And yeah, learning harmonium, because I'd always loved to sing mantras. So I thought, I'm going to learn harmonium. And I thought, but I only want to learn it really easily, joyfully. I don't want to, you know, I was thinking about when learning things before in my past. Oh no, I just want to learn with fun. And I found this amazing teacher, Leo, who teaches, and he gave me this one lesson. And I was just like, wow, I can do this. You know, I was just like, that's not, you know, and it just became true. I'd set my intention. I wanted it to be fun. I wanted to grasp it. You know, I just wanted to ease and flow. And I did. You know, obviously you need to practice, you know. But yeah, it sort of opened up this world. I thought, that's not that hard. It's almost like in the Western world, people are always trying to keep secrets about, oh no, this is really difficult. Oh, I can't tell you, you know, it's almost like they keep secrets instead of actually making a way of teaching which is fun and easy and inspires you. And so, yeah, so that sort of moved me on to learning more things. And I'm currently learning guitar now, acoustic guitar.
Wow.
And I've written my first song. It came from nowhere.
Oh my God, I
Just
love that.
came through all the, you know, all the melody and the words after going to this very beautiful temple and swimming in the river with my friends. And yeah, going to these magical places is really inspiring. And you know, it's creating that connection with other people, it's creating that connection with nature, and then it's creating that deeper connection with yourself. And so that sort of inspired me and to be more creative. And I believe that we're all creative beings, and it's really important for us all to try different creative ways of, you know, exploring and seeing what we love to do, you know. And yeah, I think in the West, we're so busy with our jobs, obviously we don't have time to do that. Or if we're lucky enough, we've got creative jobs. But yeah, just exploring creativity, it's really good to, and it's really good for the soul. And yeah, so yeah, being creative, and yeah, and getting more connection, because when you've had a very deep experience, it's very isolating, and you feel different from other people, and you don't really want to tell people because you feel shamed by, you know, what's happened, and people misunderstand you if you say, you know, what's happened to you, and they're sort of in shock, and then, you know, and they don't know what to say, and it's all rather, you know, awkward. And so, you know, having connection with others is really key. And yeah, finding that connection, and writing my story, you know, and sort of laying bare what happened to me, is just like, I feel I want to break down the barriers of you know, mental health and how people react. And also, you know, for people not to feel ashamed, because I mean, since I put out my book, or even before actually, quite a few people have told me that they'd had a similar experience, and or their mother had, or their father had, or someone they knew. And I'm sure for myself, if that happened to a friend of mine, I wouldn't have known how to cope either, you know, because it's only when we have these experiences that we realize, you know, they need to feel safe, they need to be heard, you know, we need to listen to them, we just need to support them, calm their nervous system down, get them to breathe, you know. Not necessarily locking them up in a place and being drugged is the right solution, you know. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's complex, and there's not an easy solution, but but being aware, and even if people can talk to people more and connect, then
Mhm.
actually you'll probably have less mental health. It's when people feel it goes on and on and on, and they don't get a connection with people, and they feel isolated, and they go down that path on their own. So I just wanted to bring it to people's awareness that anyone's life can change in a moment, and we don't know what the future holds. But I hope that by sharing it, it will take away some of the stigma of spiritual awakening and mental health, really.
You shared some really amazing insights about life in Bali, and I think you've inspired all of us to go at least once there and experience what a slow-paced life would look like and what kind of energy these places hold. Because I believe the energy of a place is so attached to its past and to the people, because the people who come to a place to practice, to pray, to worship, or to meditate, like kind of leave their imprint, their energetic footprint into the place. So it kind of holds into that energy, and you can feel it. So this is why meditating in an old temple where everybody would or used to meditate for thousands of years is so much easier than just meditating in your house or in your workplace or in some other random place, because the energy of a place is true and it's still there. It will you can feel it if you are sensitive enough, and also if you practice feeling, like as you said, like maybe the first time you wouldn't feel anything special, but once you get used into this slow-paced life and really paying attention and becoming aware of the frequency of the place around you and the frequency also of people around you, you will feel it much better and much easier. So having gone through a transformative journey, I'm really amazed by your journey, Alice. What key insights have you gained about self-discovery and personal growth, among other things?
Yeah, well, I mean, I believe it's all a unique journey. I think we all have our unique journey,
Mhm.
and it's not for us to compare ourselves with others about, oh, I had this happen, or I, had this spiritual experience, or I had this, it's all unique, and it's all valid. Um, well, I mean, I think journaling really supported me on that path. I wrote all the time I was in the psychiatric room. I wrote every day. It was like my way of connecting to myself and giving myself power, my power back by just expressing myself. And
Mhm.
so that's definitely the biggest takeaway, is about journaling and writing your story, or just writing however you feel, getting in touch with your emotions.
Yeah.
Because often in the West, we don't fully identify with our emotions because we're so busy doing other things that we don't really feel. We think, we
Mhm.
don't necessarily feel. And
Yeah.
I can say that for myself. I could just think things through instead of actually, how do I really feel? And to feel, you have to stop. You have to pause. You have to take a moment. You have to digest it. And yeah, and when we don't, get in touch with our emotions, then they can all build up, and then all of a sudden, life can be a bit of a mess.
Mhm.
So it's really important to really be in touch with our emotions and really feel what is best for us, because often people would say their opinion, and I would say, oh yeah, maybe that's all right. I wouldn't know for myself what was, I'd ask people, what do you think? Do you think actually that, oh, there's, it's just like really get in touch with your own instincts, your own intuition about what is it you really want. Because often, I mean, I can recall being in many jobs I didn't really enjoy, but I was doing the 9 to 5, and I was working in London, and I had a nice flat that I bought, and I had nice friends, but I didn't really feel alive. I
Mm.
felt like I was just in this wheel going around to pay my mortgage, to go on my nice holiday or whatever, and I didn't really feel alive. And not having all of that, it's very freeing. Renting a place here, and what I was going to say, the color green is the most peaceful, calming, healing color. And Bali is full of greenery. I mean, obviously there's less now, but they're building everywhere. But there is lots of rice paddies, and that frequency of nature, that frequency of the color green.
Mhm.
That's like going into nature going for a walk in nature, or walking to, by the sea, connecting to that, that energy is really powerful. And, you can do that having plants around your house, just really connecting to nature, and like animals. And why do we love
Mhm.
animals so much? Because they give us so much love and affection.
Yeah.
And so it's like having, our animal, our cats or our dogs, that's another way of in going for walks with them, movement, and really just taking time out from television and
Hmm.
social media and our phones. Now I noticed, how much everyone is just attached to their phone. I
Yeah.
mean, you go to restaurants, and both the couples are sitting there both on their phones, not talking to each other.
Mm.
And it seems like we've really lost that art of communication or connection, or connecting just through our phones and text messages. I mean, the amount of text messages we send each other, and through that text message, you don't necessarily. I mean, I can get a feeling, actually. I think you can get a feeling about what they're not saying or how they're saying it, but they can be interpreted in so many ways.
Oh,
Whereas
yeah.
when we speak with our voice,
Yeah.
we have the tone. We can see that person. It's a very different feeling, and so
Hmm.
we've become very separate in these last, I don't know, decade. It's become more and more separate and disconnected. And so many people on social media can just be living one life, but actually in reality are doing something and feeling something else. But they all look great in their pictures and everything, and they look like they're having an amazing life. But really, what's going on behind that disconnection from nature, from other people, from human connection. um yeah, life is really changing, and I feel that that's why we need to really get in touch with how we feel, so then we can be more of our authentic self. Because there's so many masks that we have to wear in life.
Mm.
So when you've got a proper job, and when you've got to look professional, and you've got to look like that for your friends or whatever, or and yeah, it's such a welcome break that I feel like living in Bali, I can just be me, and I don't have to go to a proper job, and I don't have to live in a society that's very fast and, yeah, very sort of impersonal. And yeah, I stopped watching television. I think it was 2014 after that all happened. I couldn't watch it. It was just too busy. So I stopped watching all of that. I mean, obviously I am on social media. I think everyone has to be, don't they, nowadays? But yeah, it's like when you actually think about how much time people can spend watching television
Hmm.
and having that information, you're absorbing it, even if you're not even watching it properly. What's going on in the news, and what's going on in these different programs, and it's actually another reality. It's a whole different reality they're creating, that you're then watching and receiving. It doesn't necessarily mean it's true. you
Yeah.
know so so my reality here is much of a quieter life, and yeah, doing lots of creative things and trying new things, and just sort of expanding, and just being a new self. Yeah.
It's such a blessing to have the option and the freedom to live in such amazing place, and to choose the rhythm of your life, to choose how you would spend your day, and to choose what or what not to get involved with, like a 9 to 5 job, or just starting a business and travel around the world, or choosing a place that you would build a new life in. So what's next for you? What are your future plans and projects? And are there any new areas that you're excited to explore right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking towards doing these journals that
Mhm.
I experience. I mean, I'm doing one that sort of accompanies the book. So all the
Okay.
things that inspired me, I hope will inspire other people to think differently, and maybe just try something different, and just see how somebody else went through transformation. Maybe it can support them in some way. Um, I'm also doing one around grief, because grief is such a huge topic that,
Mhm.
and again, people don't like to be
Yeah.
confronted with it or talk about it. Actually, I mean, in the UK, you just don't really even talk about it. And
Yeah.
then somebody dies, and and there's all these feelings involved. I mean, there's so much in there that can be really destabilizing, and there's something to process. And so recently, a friend of mine, a good friend who supported me in the book, actually, he was the one that told me to write every day and to write how I felt. And he recently died, and before he did, he was in a hospice for many months. And when he was in the hospice, and obviously told me he was going to die, and obviously I knew I wasn't going to see him again. And obviously I felt a lot of mixed emotions about that. I was obviously very upset, and I was like, how can I process this? I'm not going to see him, and he's been such a strong rock in my life for the last 10 years, supporting me through everything and encouraging me, and just being there for me, really, and calling me up and checking on me, and just being someone that also I could support, but just that we could just he'd known what I'd been through, and he was so supportive of me. So I started writing about grief, because I was thinking, how can I process this? So I started writing and journaling, because I just had to, because I was feeling so much emotion. So I just thought, right, I'm writing about it. And then I decided, because I was going through this for a couple of months, and really had a lot of emotions around it. So how can I honor myself and honor him through what I'm going through? So as I was going to be learning a couple of chords on guitar, and I thought, right, I'm going to start learning guitar in honor of him. And then this song came through. So I thought, right, I'm going to play the guitar. It's very calming and relaxing. And, just 10 minutes a day. Okay, I'm not perfect, but, I can practice singing along. And, I found it very therapeutic. So I put all my energy into honoring my emotions by singing and learning guitar, and also, making this song in honor of him. So I do hope I will be able to record it in the future. And I'd love to do more music. I mean, that is my thing, my passion, as my hobby passion. And so, yeah, so I hope to do more of that, because I just love it. I think, singing in the shower, singing, making sounds, there's so many simple things that you can do, just to vocalize, just to express how you feel. It can be a roar, it can be anything. It just can be vowel sounds. It could just be singing a song you like, but just expressing ourselves and playing, just not being constricted, like, oh, I've got to be good at karaoke or something, no, just make sounds, just how you feel. Like, even humming, making a humming sound, any sound can just help, sound, or whatever you want to sing or sound. It's just an expression, and that vibration goes through your whole body. So it's de-stressing you and calming your nervous system and bringing you into a place of peace. And you could join a choir or all sorts of things, make your own band if you like. But just expressing ourselves through sound and music, I think is really, yeah, I mean, I'm always trying. I brought this flute. I had this flute made in Bali. I'm not very good at it, but I mean, it's quite simple to play. And yeah, just all these different sounds and instruments and singing bowls, just all these vibrational tools that are uplifting and yeah, and fun and playful. It's like we come back into our playful self. Yeah, so I'm gathering together other people that want to do retreats with me. So I'm hoping to do one probably towards the end of the year and next year, and to share the Bali that I love, and to have a little adventure in Bali, and to show the magical places that I've experienced. And it's like mini wonderlands everywhere. You go to this temple and it looks like nothing interesting, and then you go in and it's wow, you enter this other realm, and it's like, wow, you just really go into another world. So it's really special. And yeah, and obviously sound, and there's so many tools, breath work, and yeah, all sorts of things that I would like to share with others, and just to relax and rejuvenate, and just reassess about where you want to go, and what are your dreams, and to sort of, and what inspires you. And because often we can just get stuck in the sort of 9 to 5 of life, and there's so much more out there, and there's so many more possibilities. It's like allowing us to expand and to find new ways of living, and being creative and connecting with others, and really finding where your heart wants to take you, and making it happen. And I think we are all creators. I think we can create our new reality. It's not just me, it's everyone. It's open to everyone. It's just, do you want to step out of your secure knowing of where you are and what you do. You know, do you want to go on that adventure to rediscover, you know, where you'd like to live, or just taking some new tools and implementing them into your life, or just finding new ways of being.
Such amazing projects, Alice. I'm really inspired by you, and I think our listeners are also inspired and maybe want to know more about ways to connect with you and contact you. Maybe participate in one of your retreats. That's amazing that you're hosting retreats right now. So, how can we connect with you online or on social media?
Yeah, on Instagram, I'm travel with underscore Alice,
Mhm.
and I have a website which is travelwithalice.com. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I started podcasts as well. I forgot to mention that. I am quite busy. Yeah, I
Okay.
started talking to people about connection and creativity because I just felt it was really important. I wanted to share and connect with others, you know, my story and other people's stories about how they've come through transformation and, you know, what they learned and insights into their lives. So yeah, I did start a podcast last year as well. So you can find me there on I'm Alice podcast on YouTube and other platforms. And then I
Perfect.
also started a small range of jewelry. I'm inspired by the book. And so yeah, so I do that as well. So yeah, I'm keeping busy. I'm keeping busy.
That's wonderful. I love it. So I'll make sure to add all your links on the description in the description of our episode today. Thank you for being such an amazing guest today, Alice. It's been a real pleasure having you. I look forward to hearing more about your adventures. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us today. This was the Success Catalyst. I'm Nina Robert, and I'll see you next time.